All right, good morning. You know, our Torah says, Midvar sheker tirchak. Stay far away from any falsehood. And, we're all guilty of that from time to time, of violating that. The story I always heard was that Lincoln once asked someone, do you ever tell a lie? And the fellow said, yeah, once in a while. So Lincoln said, oh, well, this is an honest man. That he's willing to admit that sometimes he'll tell a lie. But the level of the lies that are going on right now within the mass media, mainstream media, are quite shocking. How people hear a soundbite out of context and don't hear the whole thing and take it for what it is without the context. Now, this has been, in general, a source of pain and sorrow and difficulty, and just all throughout history. Lahavdil alf alfei of dollars. When our sages have a very important statement. It says, Divrei Torah niyim b'mokim echad v'shirim b'mokim acher. It says that words of Torah are impoverished, are poor in one place, and rich in another place. What does that mean? It means if you just take one term, one quote, one statement, completely out of context, you're going to have a poor outcome from that. Why? Because you don't have the full context of what's going on. And only when a person has a breadth of knowledge, we call it Bikiyas, a knowledge of a wide variety of sources, can one really truly understand the context of the words that are being stated. More often than not, the context is right there, just before or just after whatever we're reading. Meaning that there have been many quotes that various groups with agendas that go against the basic ideas of our Torah have been trying to promote a certain ideology. And they'll quote something from our scriptures. They'll quote a verse. And if you just read the whole paragraph, not even the whole chapter, you'll find that this quote is taken totally out of context. Many examples of that, and there's not time for me to say right now. There's one in Zechariah that's quite incredible. The fact that it's even ever been used. This is not the point of what I'm saying here. Now, Havdil, someone recently was very upset. They said, a rabbi shouldn't be, or any clergy should not be involved in politics. Now, there's a dirty business of politics that, of course, you shouldn't be involved in, but to distinguish between truth and falsehood, I think that we have to be involved with, even though, to be honest, there are many clergy who are involved in the dirty aspects of politics. We see this time and time again. I mean, it pains me, and there are reasons for that. You know, it pains me when statewide or local elections, our hands are almost forced, at least in the larger communities, to support candidates whose values are the opposite of ours, simply because they're going to win with or without us, and we can't put the risk of being persecuted based on that. But that's the luxury I have of living in a small community, where my vote is a little bit more of a private thing, a secret ballot, because I don't live in a large Orthodox community, and so therefore I am able to vote my conscience and not have to vote just to bet on the winner, quote unquote. There are other reasons why, if there are things that are more important, we need to help people out. And there's always been this idea of Stadtlernes and so forth, but that's neither here nor there. That's not the point. What I want to make here at this. However, when there's an exerted effort to say no, this is not to actually lie, and as the media's been doing, and take innocuous statements out of context and exaggerate them. This is something we have to stand up against. There's no question about it. What do I mean here? There was a horrible event that took place this weekend in Charlottesville, this Shabbos. You know, I lived in Virginia for 5 years. Charlottesville is a very important place. It's near Monticello, where Jefferson lived. It has a very important place in history. And people were dismayed that our president said that there were two sides of this story. But he's 100% right. Then he came out with a statement that it seemed that everyone should be happy with, where he condemned certain groups and said that he disavowed any connection to these groups, as was proper. And then at a press conference he answered back, which upset people, that there's not only an alt-right but an alt-left. And then he said there were good people and bad people on both sides. And so people are like, what, you're saying white nationalists are good people, the KKK are good people? No. Then he went and explained himself. That there were people who were just peacefully protesting the day before, peacefully protesting against the removal of a statue. And those who he would say were the good people on one side, and just the same like someone like the victim who was killed. Was a peaceful activist. Is someone who he characterized as a good person on the other side. Media refuses to acknowledge that when he said there were good people and bad people on both sides, and then he explained himself, people intentionally are being misled to believe that he's saying that the KKK and the neo-Nazis are good people, which he never said. What he was saying is that the people who just came to peacefully protest the removal of a statue were, in his estimation, good people. Now, why is it that the media refuses that? It's because they don't believe they're good people. And you could have questions. And then he went on to say, well, what's next? Are we going to say that Jefferson and Washington, who owned slaves, we can't have statues of them either, and so forth, and what's it, what exactly is going on here? And that's what he said. Now, my approach would be different. Is similar, but I would say I would go a little bit further. He spoke about, if there's an alt-right, there's also an alt-left, and that both sides are problematic, both the alt-right and the alt-left. My answer would be as follows: that these groups, the KKK and the neo-Nazis, are the alt-left, are part of the alt-left. Now, the alt-left consists of many different factions. The bad guys in this group, they were saying unite the right. Now the thing is, part of what makes the right great, the real right, the constitutional right great, is that we're not totally united. We have different factions with different ideas. The Republican Party began as a coalition of various smaller third parties to develop a larger third party to become the most successful third party in history. And the party that elected the most presidents in history. But it's always been an eclectic group. Generally, we've said that the left and the Democrats and so forth have, in general, been a united front. And even though there are various factions on the left as well. But I think this perception that the left is a united front also is wrong. And there have always been these warring factions in the left. As in general, radical groups have always dealt with people who are seeking power, and the fact that these warring factions are separated made them weaker. I watched a video yesterday at Prager University about Pakistan and how Pakistan, the majority of the people in Pakistan want a liberal democracy. Yes, they're Muslims and they want to practice their faith, but they also want freedom. And then you have the extremists who want to impose stricter interpretations of Islam. And yet these extremist factions tend to be fractured. Because of that, they don't, they're not able to take over. You know, even though they've done horrible things, they've assassinated high-ranking officials and so forth, but they're not able to get the majority because they won't make a coalition. So to the radical left, this paradigm of left and right has a problem. You know, we should really see it as kind of what they talk about, the horseshoe theory, and that really the constitutional American right is really the center of the horseshoe, and then you have these two, and we'll put that on the right, and then we have these two opposites on the left. The reason I say that is based simply on history. Meaning, the communists were bad guys. The communists killed far more than the Nazis. And obviously, it goes without saying the Nazis were bad guys and the KKK were bad guys. It goes without saying. Maybe it's better to have it like a tuning fork, though, perhaps, that you have a center and then you have a right and you have two lefts, or maybe even 3 or 4 lefts. Oh, so you have 3 or 4 rights. And you have several centers, too. You know, this is the fact of the matter is that we're all individuals and we're not groups. Meaning the most important minority is the individual, the smallest minority. In which in this country we have 250 million minorities. Meaning each individual is a single minority. There's more than that. Let's look at history. Is it correct, the question should be, for groups like Nazis and the KKK, who are two different groups, who have different agendas and different ideologies, although they're united on their racism, their ideologies differ. That's one thing. But is it in any way proper to brand these groups as the quote-unquote alt-right or as right-wing at all? And if you know anything just about basic history of both of these groups, the answer is a resounding no. Meaning these are groups that may be a different prong of the left, and as always, just like we spoke about how in Pakistan the various extremist groups who were perhaps all on the right of Islam, more conservative wing of Islam, and yet because each one is vying for power, they war with each other and they will not form a coalition, and that deprives them of their power. Here we're talking about, first of all, very tiny minorities who are insignificant and don't really deserve any attention. When we talk about these neo-Nazi groups and these KKK groups, they're insignificant. And in a way, we're giving them attention. I don't know, I mean, a similar thing, I went to get an oil change, and they had the TV on there, and they were showing, they're building the Tappan Zee Bridge now. So they showed a group of teenagers who went and took a YouTube video where they took a little adventure onto the new Tappan Zee Bridge that's being built in the middle of the night. And then whatever, they got arrested, whatever. My feeling is, certainly with a case like that, by putting it on the news, you're only supporting them. So that's a different problem. Now, obviously, there's a difference between kids who are making mischief, going up in a construction site, who certainly don't deserve any attention, because when you're giving them attention, putting them on the news, that's their whole goal. But here, these groups, they don't deserve attention, except, obviously when it's newsworthy, like in this case, and to alert people of dangers of joining these groups, and problems with them, and so forth. There's a video that Glenn Beck quoted yesterday, and it's an old World War II propaganda film, training film, but the message, the propaganda was a good message. It was made in 1943, and then it was re-edited and expanded in 1947, called "Don't Be a Sucker." And it's worthwhile to check that out. I tweeted it yesterday. Quite an interesting film. And it's talking about how there's this divide and conquer and abuse and so forth. With these hate groups. But there's something else we got to talk about here, and that's just plain old history. And again, so what I would say is the alt-right is the alt-left. Meaning, who in America, forget about other countries, Europe has a different right-left paradigm. But America, our right is essentially libertarian and constitutionalist. And really, in a sense, today's right has more in common with the left of 30, 40, 50 years ago in America than today's left has. But the main thing that I want to bring out is this. Who are the Nazis and who are the KKK and who are the Republicans? The Republican and who are the Democrats? And then once we have those answers, we can say who is on which side here. The Republicans are the party of Abraham Lincoln. The Republican Party was founded to free the slaves. The Republican Party, all throughout history, was the champion of civil rights. Even some of the first major civil rights legislation that came about in the 20th century was under Eisenhower in the post-World War II era. He was a Republican. The Republicans in the Congress unanimously supported the Civil Rights Acts and the Voting Acts that LBJ signed into law. Even though he was a Democrat, his own party, for the most part, the vast majority of Democrats, opposed these laws. And all Republicans supported them. And LBJ himself reluctantly signed them into law for one explicit purpose of fooling the common man into voting Democrat in the future. And he expressed this making quite racist remarks when he did so. That's the truth and the fact. LBJ was a horrible racist. And that's the truth. And he only signed these for political gain and not because of his own personal conviction. Let's go back into history. Who's the KKK? What is the KKK? Where they come from? Now, the KKK really in history had two waves, in which to a certain extent they're really two different groups almost using the same name and culture, but initially they were really two totally different organizations at different times in history. They didn't exist together, these two. The original KKK disappeared, and the new KKK replaced them after their disappearance. And in both cases, the KKK was part and parcel of the Democratic Party. Now, the KKK originated during the time of Reconstruction after the Civil War, because the North was overwhelmingly Republican, the South was overwhelmingly Democrat, and now blacks were given free slaves, former slaves were given their due right to vote, and they were given American citizenship. And they voted Republican. They were all Republicans, and they voted many African American former slaves as Republicans into both national and state legislatures in the South during this time of Reconstruction. And so the Democratic Party formed the KKK to try to put a stop to that, to fight the Republicans, which were the party of the African Americans. The party of freedom, the party of liberty, the party of equal rights. And so that's why the KKK was formed, to be a violent, militant, terrorist organization to support the Democratic Party and to fight the Republican Party. Now, shortly after Reconstruction came to an end, the KKK petered out to the point where it was almost disappeared. We had some Republican presidents, some Democrat presidents, back and forth. Eventually we had probably the worst president in the 20th century, a Democrat, Woodrow Wilson. Wilson brought back the KKK. He supported the renewal of the KKK. And together with the KKK was another group, Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger. In a sense, the KKK really transformed into Planned Parenthood, if you really want to get into the truth of it. Meaning, they realized they couldn't get away with lynching adults. The Democrats refused to condemn this horrific evil of lynching adult African Americans. They refused to condemn it. And obviously the Republicans in Congress, they made many statements to condemn this horrible practice. So, but really, essentially, Planned Parenthood was a racist organization that was founded for the purpose of eliminating the black race. And so they decided they can lynch blacks in the womb. And that's what they do to this day. They lynch plenty of other babies, but for the most part, you go to a city like New York City, if a black child is more likely to be aborted than to be born because of this systematic lynching in the womb. That's what it's really all about. And yet people, through the propaganda, they're able to convince people that this is the way. And essentially, when the KKK came back in the time of Wilson, it wasn't enough. The original KKK was more about the political situation of the newly freed former slaves, and the establishment there of the Democrats in the South. And when, in the time of Woodrow Wilson and Margaret Sanger, when the KKK was resurrected, it became a racist group against not only blacks, but also Jews and Catholics and all different groups. And also, so that's but it was always part of the Democratic Party. I would even go so far as to venture to say that this perception that now they don't have anything to do with the Democratic Party, even though they do. We saw that the KKK donated thousands upon thousands of dollars to Hillary Clinton's campaign. And Clinton herself, her mentor in the Senate was Byrd, a KKK man. Senator Byrd. So So she had very strong ties to the KKK. And I think this perception that they're no longer, that the media lie, that they have nothing to do with the Democratic Party, is part of their, it's their new form of warfare against the Republicans, by trying to paint the Republicans as being them, which is totally not true. And for the most part, these lies and propaganda have worked. But the fact of the matter, with all full historical context and current present context, is that the KKK always has and always was and always will be, until it, God willing, it disappears from the face of the earth, which we hope it will disappear, has always been part of the Democratic Party. So therefore, we should brand it as the alt-left, not the alt-right. KKK. The next thing is the Nazis. Yes, the Nazis fought the communists. But they were, again, like how we said in Pakistan, you had these two sides who are similar, but just fighting amongst each other. So too, Nazis are national socialists. Socialism is on the left. Furthermore, the Nazis are neo-pagans and occultists. Like we talk about the Wiccans and all these groups, these are not the Judeo-Christian right. These are the left. Hitler himself said that the Ten Commandments are a blemish that the Jews brought to the world, and everything he hated about Judaism, he hated about Christianity as well. And he wanted to go back to ancient paganism, worshipping Norse gods and so forth. So Nazis are also on the left. Now they're different. Now that doesn't mean all leftists are Nazis, doesn't mean all leftists are KKK, doesn't mean all leftists are communists. No, because the left is an eclectic group. But these groups are clearly on the left and not on the right. All right, thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe.